Okay, so in this video, we are going to cover the Paycheck Protection Program and basically how we can turn these SBA loans and get them forgiven if we use them for the right thing that effectively turns them into a grant. So if you guys have been following my channel, if you guys have been following me on Facebook or YouTube, you guys know that as of last Friday, the federal government, the Congress, the Senate, and the President signed into law the CARES Act, which basically not only is to account for the stimulus bill, but it also allows small businesses to get loans that can possibly be forgiven, and it also provides relief for corporations to keep people on payroll and ultimately employed. Now, this is super important because a lot of the money in here is actually designated for small businesses. So if you're not using this, this is not going to last forever. There are deadlines for this, and the sooner you apply, the sooner you'll know whether you can get it. And there's also a bonus in this video, which I've covered in the past, but you can get a $10,000 advance that is automatically forgiven, and it only takes about 5 minutes to apply, okay? Okay, so I'm actually gonna get out of this, and I'm gonna show you what I have found. So if you come to this link, which I've posted in the description of this video, you'll find all of these resources. And just recently, they posted the link to this. This is the Paycheck Protection Program. Now, what this does is there's an application form, and it's just a sample right now. But basically, you'll see that this is for non-profits, independent, the self-employed. You'll fill it out. You'll put your business name in here. You'll fill all this out. And if you guys have been following, you guys know that the amount that can be approved is 2.5 times, your mortgage, your rent, your payroll, and your utilities, right? And you're going to basically say, look, what's my average payroll? Multiply that by 2.5 times, the number of jobs that you had, and what you're using the money for. You're going to fill this information out, and then you're going to obviously answer these questions to the best of your abilities and be honest. And then you're going to come down and you're going to basically self-certify, right? So you're basically making the representation, authorization, and you're certifying that all this is true below, okay? So the business and each 20% of greater owner must certify in good faith all of the below. So, just be honest on this. And if you use this for, the purposes intended in here, the amount of the loan that you get can possibly be forgiven. So if you're granted $50,000, a lot of people, I've seen it in the comments, I've seen it in discussion boards, everyone is saying, I don't want debt, I don't want this, I don't want something I have to pay back. Well, number one, that's not so bad if you absolutely need it. But number two, this is basically making it so it can be forgiven. So this form, as I can't find it without the sample on it, you're not gonna file this until about, basically until you've used the money, my understanding is, right? Because obviously, you're going to have to, apply for the forgiveness at some time. So just have the form ready. Your bank will you'll have to coordinate with your bank so you know exactly when to send it in, when to apply for this. But if you don't, then the money is not going to be forgiven, or at least not the full amount or the amount that's intended or you're eligible for. So it clearly states in the final bill that, you're going to be, if you're approved for the loan, you still have to basically apply for forgiveness. So just applying for it by itself is one step of it. That's going to get you the money. And of course, the payments are deferred. The interest rates are really low. But if you want to get that money forgiven and you have a small business and you're using it for what's listed in here, then you're going to want to fill this out. So I posted the links in here. You can read more about the Paycheck Protection Program. You can read more about the EIDL and how you can get relief. And if you come in here and you haven't seen my previous video, you can see that they have a quick submission form. And if you click in here, you can get a $10,000 advance, even if you're denied for the bigger loan. So I covered this in a previous video. So it's super important that you keep track of, you basically keep a checklist for yourself. You get yourself up to speed, go watch the previous videos. See the differences between the between the benefits that you're eligible for and how they can be forgiven. But this one right here can provide you for an advance, and it clearly states that the advance does not have to be paid back, and it's up to $10,000. So right here, it says small business owners in the US are eligible to apply for the advance for up to 10,000, and this says it does not have to be paid back. Okay. So yeah, that basically about covers it. I know there's a lot of information. This changes almost daily. Every single day I go on the website, there's something new. And my thought process is if I have, trouble kind of distilling it, or if I ever get confused, I know other people are going to get confused. And I've just done so much reading that I feel like I have to spread this information because, the chances of everyone getting it right is going to be super hard. Nothing in the government is easy. So the thing that you can do to help me out the most is help spread the word, get people this information. So tag them, share this information with them, and let's get as many people taking advantage of this, because just keep in mind, this is not the end all be all. This is not the way our business becomes profitable this year. This just helps us, continue with what we were doing, right? The government shut us down. It's not our fault. Our businesses are basically shut down. So this is their way of providing relief temporarily. Okay. And then it's time to get back to work, get more clients, get back to booking. That way, when May, June, July comes around, we have people that are paying for our services and are ultimately providing all the profit. So I'm going to go to Q&A in the comments. If you guys have any questions, I'll answer them. So, and even if you're not on live, you can ask. I'll try to get back to you in the comments. And let me see. Okay. So Deborah says, thanks. Robbie says, I missed the beginning. Did he say that you don't have to have? Yep. You don't have to have employees. So technically, they're saying if you're an independent contractor, if you're self-employed and you have rent, you have utilities, you have yourself on the payroll, you can still apply, right? Like things are changing, the way to submit everything is, being finalized. So for now, apply and just double check and confirm with your bank. So no harm, no foul doing that. And also I do want to follow up. I have been trying to get updates, and I've gotten an update from my PEO, and they sent a super valuable email. And basically what they said, and by the way, if you guys want to read that SBA information, it's right here. But basically what they said, let me find this. What they said was, let me see if I can find this for you impromptu, because I didn't think I was going to show you this. JustWorks. Okay, by the way, in case you guys missed it, I do use JustWorks for all my payroll and stuff. And they sent out some really good info. But what they basically said is banks will be ready. SBA lenders, so banks that are approved to give out SBA loans, will be ready around April 3rd. I called Navy Federal and they said April 9th. So they said, basically I'm going to have more forms, and I'm going to have to complete a full application. The application here right now is just an expedited one to get you the loan advance and like preliminary. But you are going to have to basically apply through a bank. So don't think that just coming to the SBA website, you're going to have to contact your bank. You can go to Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, any local business or bank that does business accounts and also does SBA loans would be eligible. Okay. So let's see. Robbie says, well, that advance is totally different from the SBA loan. Do you have to have both? I don't really think it's different. I think, and this is where it's very hard, right? So it's an advance on that loan. So my understanding is let's just say you get approved and you get the 10,000. Well, when you move forward, and let's just say you get approved, you're a bigger studio and you get approved for, 150,000. Well, they're going to count that 10,000 as being the advance for it. So that's why it's called the EIDL loan advance. I don't really think it's different, but it's an advance that potentially is forgiven automatically and that can be given to you even if you don't rate the other one. Okay, Mark said, I've basically been waiting for you to read everything and tell us the good news. All right. Again, if you've been on the channel, if you've been on my personal profile, you guys have seen that I'm definitely covering all of this in different videos. Okay, Robbie says, so you have to apply at your bank for the loan and the advance. For the advance, you can apply right here. It even takes your bank account number. I covered this yesterday. It takes your bank account number. It asks you for your routing, institution where you want it to be paid to. You're going to have to apply through the SBA either way, because you can think of it as like a collaboration. The advance you're going to apply online. The final ultimate, big application you're going to make is going to be in conjunction with your bank. And they're probably going to make you submit all the Form 5s and all the forms that they used to have up and available. And then you're going to have to submit those like with your bank or like through the SBA, and you're going to get like a number for it, because basically the bank is giving you the money. It's just guaranteed and secured by the SBA, right? So it's not so much that like you're dealing with the SBA directly and, they're going to be giving you the entire loan amount. It's more so like, the Fed and the government is securing the loan and they're giving the guidelines to the banks, and then the banks are doing all the work and labor on the front end. So just keep that in mind. Okay, do you know when we will find out if we have been approved? I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. This is honestly, I would say probably weeks from now. I think if I was a betting person, I'd say before May 1st, I think we would be seeing people approved for this. So let me go back and give you guys a pretty screen. Robbie says, my husband works at a Bank of America, and he said people can come in now and do the paperwork, and they will hold it and process it when it officially starts. Yeah, for sure. I think that's the case for a lot of banks, but there is a lot of uncertainty. So I feel like a lot of banks are kind of holding out. A lot of banks are kind of just saying, hey, we're not going to do anything now. I will say, as of last week, it was very clear what you needed. You needed Form 5. You needed a personal financial statement, a schedule of all your liabilities. You needed a request for tax transcripts, which is like Form 42 something. I have a list of all those. I've done all those. It was like a total of like 10 pages and then my 180 pages of previous tax returns. So you do have to provide a lot of financial information. And again, the loans are given based on your credit score and based on your ability to pay them back. So they can definitely be forgiven, but in order to qualify, like they want to see that you have the ability to at least pay them back. So my understanding is if you have been struggling or maybe not have been super profitable or, maybe haven't been viable for the last 2 years, it might make it much harder, if you have very bad credit or if your business hasn't been making money, because they're going to look at it and maybe say, well, COVID didn't really do this to you. You were already failing and you don't have the ability to pay this back, which is kind of like a catch-22, but, I think it kind of gets to the heart of the issue, which is, hey, get businesses that were doing well to continue to do well, and maybe not reward people that, weren't doing well. I don't know, but that seems to be the logic. Where's the list of everything you need? I'm going to say it's not on, for some reason, it's not online anymore. It was for the last 2 weeks. So if you haven't done it up until now, it's not available. I'm not going to go back and provide it because I don't want to give people bum scoop. I'm just saying that's what was available, for the last 2 weeks. And I don't want you to go and do 400 pages. Maybe they change it. Maybe they make a shorter form. Maybe they create, shorter everything. Someone is asking, is it based on 2018 taxes? So my understanding is, they're going to go back. You're putting in a request for them you're going to have to basically authorize them to go look at all your taxes previously. So they're probably going to look at your most recent. So if you've done better in 2019, I would go ahead and just file 2019 taxes. And then there's other stipulations, right? Like they're looking at time periods of when you had employees either in 2019, or you can also choose whether you had employees in 2020. And then there's also stipulations where you basically have to be paying people at least 75% of their full-time salary, and you have to keep on the same amount of employees, or you're prorated, right? So if you had 10 employees before and then you cut your staff in half and you try to get this grant, well, the amount that's forgiven, it's going to be cut down because you're not abiding to the Paycheck protection program. So you're going to have to go read in there. There's a bunch of nuances in there. So that sheet has a formula in there, and your bank is going to give you a lot of information. So just make sure if you want it to be forgiven, you have to be very clear with your bank and find out exactly what's going to be eligible to be forgiven. And I think best practices is, even if you know it's going to be forgiven, treat it like it's not going to be forgiven, right? People treat money better when it's basically theirs, right? And they're more frugal with it. They're more conscious with it. They use it more properly. So I feel like if you have the mindset that like, okay, well, I got granted $100,000 and I'm going to just spend all of it, and, because I know it's going to be forgiven. Well, what happens when all of it isn't, right? Like, it's going to be a little bit hard for you to pay it back if you get into deep waters with it. Okay. So just treat it as if it is a complete loan. And I would just treat it like, oh my God, we're lucky that it's a grant. And then you're going to be much more responsible with it, and that's something I feel like I have to do. Otherwise, just to keep myself grounded. Okay. Lindsay says, I just called my bank while I was watching and took my info and will call me when they know what's going on. Yep. I mean, that is the best you can do. Robbie says, I don't have employees. I have 1099 people. I will say, through all my readings of everything, I have seen that it could potentially cover 1099 as well. So just keep that in mind. The best advice I can give you is apply. Just get it approved. Get the guidance from the bank. Get up to speed on all of this. And again, if you treat the money like it's yours and it's a loan and it's not a grant, you're going to be much more frugal with it. And just keep in mind, you can't just stack on things on top of this, right? So a lot of the things are time sensitive, meaning they're going to pay you based on previous payrolls. They're going to authorize things based on previous rents. So you can't just go sign a new lease, spend a bunch of new money and get it forgiven. And again, there's a very small list of things that it can actually be used for. So it can't be used for new cameras. It can't be used for a bunch of fancy things and think we can get away with it. You're going to get in really deep water. So just be very careful with it. Okay, so Jill Kelly says, same here. Yeah, guys, I completely understand. All right, that's it for this one. If you guys have any questions, post any comments, links below. And again, if you guys know anyone that needs this information, make sure to share it with them. If you're tuning in late, go back to the beginning and you'll find what we went over. Basically, the fact that even if you get approved for this, it doesn't mean that it's automatically forgiven. You still have to apply for it to be forgiven. So here's a sample form. They're probably going to remove the sample from this at a later date. I can't find, this is on the SBA website, so it's almost like it's intentional that they don't want people submitting this right now. So just keep that in mind. You will have to apply for the forgiveness. It's not automatically granted. So that's it for this one. I will see you guys in the next one.